And we are back with star number 2 of the summer event. For this star I went about it as a more common player would, playing only rank 3 destroyers. Granted, this is more of a newer player that would do this event, but I wanted to see what this event is like for the newer player. So I went ahead and chose the Americans and the British. The Americans because they're actually really good rank 3 destroyers, and the British because I have a few premium destroyers and I just want to grind some SL whilst I'm at it. The match you're going to be seeing here is the first match I played today, when the new star started, and also the best match I got the entire day. But anyways, enough talking, let's get into the actual match proper. We're on Japanese port, one of my favorite maps, and obviously we'll be taking the close spawn towards Bravo. First spawning the Gearing. Gearing is a very solid destroyer. Now, things are going to be going by relatively quickly, so I'll try and keep up. But if I miss something, please keep in mind that I am doing this after the fact, and I'm not pausing the video at any point. So press tab and look at the team list. I see a Shakal on my team, which is a 3.7 destroyer, knowing that it's a full down tier. I also saw the enemy has Shotty, 4 Shotties on their enemy team. This is a squadron full of bots, and they're bad bots as well. Good to keep in the back of the mind. And also, not a lot of players, not a lot of player accounts at least. So this will be an interesting match. Now I'll just get into position behind the island here, in order to shoot at any enemy targets coming around the enemy island. In the meantime, listening to my crew callouts, and I call out a frigate in front of me. This is an SKR-7. SKR-7s are very dangerous frigates in capable hands, although they're not really as good as they used to be. I wanted to get into position by getting behind the rock, but sadly my teammate cut me off. The SKR knocks out my bridge and soon after one of my turrets, but not too big of a deal. The SKR should not be able to finish me off with only its guns. The teammate apologized for cutting me off, and that is more than appreciated. An SKR, we're one gearing, we have a teammate, we should be able to deal with an SKR ourselves pretty easily. We only have our 2 front turrets firing at the moment, but we're not quite at the correct angle. I see a Frank Knox pop up, but I am highly suspicious that that is one of the Shotty bots, and not much of a threat. SKR is firing rockets, but not at me, so I should be fine. And we keep firing at the SKR, which is the bigger threat. I zoomed out there to check my own position of the ship to see if I'm not overturning. SKR sunk, we switch over to Frank Knox because it's the only other available target. I see my teammate shooting off to the right, and I see a bow of an enemy ship to the right, another Frank Knox by the look of that turret. I again assume it's going to be one of the Shotty guys, so I ignore it. However, I zoom out and I see more targets. Another Frank Knox, another Shotty, no threat. And an SKR behind it. Again, SKR's bigger threat. However, I keep engaging this Frank Knox because it is actually shooting at my direction, whilst the SKR is not yet. As you can see, the Frank Knox's turret are looking in my direction. We'll quickly finish off this Frank Knox, and we swap over to the SKR. I press the chat command menu here to check if it's what kind of SKR it is, and it's an SKR-1, which does not have the same long-range rockets. So it should be a pretty easy fight. I'm continuing to back up because there are 3 enemy ships that can shoot at me, with more possibly on the way, so I back up to try and reduce the amount of guns firing at me, which seemed to be effective. I stopped fire here to the Frank Knox for a second because I believe the SKR is not really defending itself too favorably. Frank Knox was already heavily wounded, so I finished it off. A player Russian destroyer. Very dangerous, I have to sink it first. SKR has stopped shooting, it is clearly damaged, it's burning, so ignore the SKR for now. That ammo rack was more luck than anything else, but I'll take those any time of the day. Back to the SKR, it is shooting at a teammate, but I need to finish it off because it is still a threat. A bigger threat than the Frank Knox at least. I see another SKR in the backup, and I see the rocket launchers on that other SKR. So I do need to be very careful of that. However, the other SKR is not shooting me, it is shooting another teammate. So focus on the first SKR until it gets sunk, which should be shortly. There we go, I swap over to the next SKR and try to sink it reasonably quickly. I've advanced forward again because I do not think there should be that many more ships coming. So I go forward to give myself a better viewing angle, better visibility, and just try to just shuffle back and forth continuously. Going forward also gives me an opportunity to look around the island, although I didn't do this in this case because I'm too preoccupied with the SKR. I'm trying to go for the ammo racks on the SKR, which you can detonate by shooting the ammo racks just below the turrets. As you can see the basket there in the X-ray view, that basket is what you want to shoot. But the SKR gets taken out by a teammate, so on to this Frank Knox. However, one mistake I will admit to in this battle is I'm spending way too much time in the gunner scope. But it hasn't cost us yet. We swap over to the player Russian destroyer because it is, I'm certain, an actual player. Because bots do not use Tech 3 destroyers. The Frank Knox sunk anyway, so it was a good time to switch targets. I go forward here not because I really want to. My bridge got taken out whilst I was going in full speed ahead. This does leave me in a bit of a vulnerable position, but not too bad. It's only one threat in front of me and I should be able to deal with it without losing my vessel. As you see, we're doing massive damage with our salvos. And there we go, another assist, but that's more than fine. We got our bridge back and we see a Smelly premium destroyer. However, I do believe this is one of the Russian players from earlier, so still a very big threat. And at this point my gunnery starts going off a bit. I'm having poor luck with getting my range correct. But we keep fighting. Another mistake I've made here is repairing. My engine's knocked out, and there's no real reason for me to have my engines. Of course I need to put up a fire because that does continuous damage. Frank Knox, again bot, don't care about it. So we do focus on the fire first. Anti-aircraft gunners are firing, need to look what that is. It's a frigate. It's a yacht type frigate, not a big threat, we'll ignore it for now. But as I said, I'm gonna start repairing here shortly, and it is a mistake, because I do not need my engines, I don't need to go anywhere. And that mistake is going to cost me quite dearly in just a moment. But to get back to the other ships that I saw earlier, there is a yacht type frigate, which is a Russian frigate that only fires high explosive and has no other dangerous armament. Other than torpedoes, but I don't think it's a big torpedo risk, so I ignore it. Smelly is going down, it's too low enough crew. So now I switch to this yacht, even though I said it isn't a high threat, because it is the best threat I could see, until I saw the Mutsuki. The Mutsuki isn't a high threat, but it is an easy kill. It has a very vulnerable ammo rack in between its engines. So that's what I'm shooting at now. It's going to take me a few salvos, but I see that the yacht is not shooting me. It's also getting bombarded by a friendly SKR, so I can ignore it. I lose a turret here, but that's fine. Mutsuki goes down. Smelly respawned in a Smelly. As well, the Karl Marx, which is a yacht type frigate, sank on its own. I got a kill, more than happy with it. Probably shouldn't have gotten that kill, but oh well. Here is where I do the repair mistake. I kind of confused the two Smellies with each other. I'm repairing my engines because I had the idea of wanting to go to Alpha. However, at this point this is going to be costing me dearly because I'm low in crew and I just repaired the biggest modules on my ship, which will drain a lot of crew, and there's a player fresh Smellier right there. Luckily I did manage to get it down to very low crew, so at least I should be able to trade with this Smellier. There we go, and his last salvo will finish my gearing off. However, 9 kills, 3 assists, 4000 score in a gearing. Great results. Enemy captured Alpha, but it doesn't matter, we already captured Bravo, so it's just a standstill. I now spawn Sumner, because I like the Sumner in gearing. I do have a backup for the gearing, but I wanted to kind of challenge me with the mindset of I am playing a lineup and I don't have any backups, so I'm playing the Sumner. I pointed out here having a bit of a graphical issue with my Sumner, with very low poly model. I spotted an aircraft there, but it's far away, not a big threat. I saw my secondary gunners opening up at the M17, not a threat. We see a Frank Knox. It's the only valuable threat I can really shoot at. Its guns are vaguely looking in my direction, so I perceive it as a threat. It's again one of the shotty bots. I don't think it's a big threat, but I have no better targets to shoot at. I see the P-40 in the kill feed got shot down. Now that I'm looking at the match from hide side, I see the M17 getting sunk as well. However, I hear my anti-aircraft gunners opening up on something which is getting me concerned a little. So I zoom out, I look what they're shooting at, P-40 crashing, no problem, I go back to my target, which I now switch to the Mitsuki because again, the Frank Knox is not a big threat to me. So I just opened a salvo at the Mitsuki thinking, it's a reserve, I don't really need to deal with it, let's shoot the Frank Knox instead. Finished it off with one salvo, back to the Mitsuki. The Mitsuki, again, easy ammo rack, probably the same player that I destroyed earlier, and we'll just go for the ammo rack seeing as there's no other targets. However, mistake number 3 is about to show up momentarily, after I sink this Mitsuki. It's kind of a mistake I've already made. I'm spending too much time in the gunner scope in this battle, which is going to cost me dearly here. I had more than enough space to dodge these torpedoes if I'd known they were there. But I didn't, so I ran into them and it hit me straight in the magazine, detonating my Sumner. A bit of a shame, not really the way you want to lose a Sumner, but I have one more spawn, and at this stage I know that the enemy team is low on vehicles because I've killed quite a few of them. And my team has killed quite a few of them as well, looking at their map positions, looking at the lack of enemy ships and enemy fire. We're pretty safe. Enemy aircraft, far away, Key 49, Japanese medium bomber. It'll be fine, I don't have to worry about it. But I have nothing better to shoot at, I'll engage it. Just looking around, make sure that there is no other targets to shoot at, and we'll engage the Key 49. I press tab, I see the scoreboards, there's next to no enemies left, I'm not worried anymore. Another thing I wanted to mention is why I picked Mitcher over Fletcher, even though Fletcher is arguably the better destroyer. I haven't played Mitcher in a while, so I felt like playing it again. But at this stage of the match it wouldn't have mattered anyways. So we keep engaging this bomber, but it's seemingly turning away, so I'm probably not going to get a kill on it. But no matter, we've already had a very good battle. We spot an enemy ship again. It is a reserve HMS Vega, the star of the previous video. But in this case this Vega got a full up tier and is not having the best of times. I'm shooting the front of this Vega more just because it is undamaged, I'll just keep shooting it. The Vega is now going bow in, and you'll notice that I don't really lower my ranging anymore. With a bowing target and the front of the hull already being damage saturated, I want to shoot the rear of the ship, so I keep my ranging high to try and hit the rear of the vessel. But it ends up in an assist, still more than happy. I see my anti-aircraft gunners firing, a little bit of a brown trouser moment as I see an aircraft within 3 kilometers, which can be quite dangerous. However, my teammates deal with it no problem. I do see on my radar screen another aircraft, and there we have it, a Year 2. Again, 5 kilometers away, I'm probably not going to be able to shoot it down at any reasonable rate, but I have nothing better to shoot at, so we'll take pot shots at this Year 2. Whilst moving on to Alpha, but I see my teammate is going to reach Alpha way before I do, so I'm just taking it easy. Year 2 got shot down by a friendly, and that is the last enemy on their team, leading to an easy, well, kind of easy victory. The enemy kind of drew the short stick with the 4 shotties on their side. Sadly, I again got the bug where we couldn't see the immediate post-battle results at the end of the match, but I'll just quickly go over them here for the final score. Again, this was the first match of the day, and you'll see by my progress on the star, at 10,000 points, that I got a really good match out of this. So we go to the replays, and there you can see it, 5,269 points. An absolutely awesome first match of the day. However, again for transparency, I saved this battle because it was such a good battle. In total, it took me 9 battles today. However, my matchmaking for the rest of the day wasn't nearly as good as this one, with more full up tiers and worse maps for it as well. Fighting more Oygons, fighting more cruisers in general, as well as other competent destroyer captains. All in all, if I look back at the battles and just give me a moment, we got the first battle of the day again was 5,269 score, then the second was 2,551, and 3,510. Not bad battles, but I didn't enjoy them as much because they were full up tiers and I had to really fight for these battles. Then again 2,178 for the fourth battle, 2,114 for the fifth, 1,459 for the sixth, 929 for the seventh, and that's when I ran into two I-Navy guys in Blagorodnis. That was a really good fun time. God, they're dangerous. Then 1,391, and at this eighth battle I was close to getting my star, and of course then at the final battle for the day, 4,098 score. All in all, it is still incredibly easy to do these daily stars, not daily stars, bi-daily stars, these event stars, with just a rank 3 destroyer lineup. Although it definitely helps if you have a very solid destroyer lineup, and I personally prefer the Americans for that job. Anyways, thank you for watching, and you'll see me back on Saturday.